Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The rock band Lit performs live at the Let's Go Music Festival in Annapolis, Maryland on June 2nd through June 4th. I spoke to guitarist Jeremy Popoff about the band's journey from its California roots to recording the iconic hit My Own Worst Enemy. Hey, Jeremy Popoff. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
What's going on, brother?
We're talking, obviously, you're the guitarist of the band Lit. Our listeners will know and love your stuff, but we're talking because you guys are coming to the Let's Go Music Fest in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a big lineup. I think day one is like Live and Collective Soul. Day two is 311 and Cold War Kids, and of course you guys. And then I think day three has some country artists like Chris Young and Kit Moore and stuff. But how exciting is it to share a stage with all these bands? Do you have to change the set list when there's so many of you, shuffling on and off? Or, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, bunch of great bands on this festival. We've done shows with all of them pretty much over the years, and so it's going to be a bunch of good buddies getting together for a good time. And even the country guys, I mean, I know all those guys you just mentioned too, so we live here in Nashville, so I'm sure we'll run into them the night before when they're all getting in. And yeah, man, it's what we do. It's fun.
I love it. Well, we encourage everyone to go check out the festival. It's relatively new in Annapolis, so everybody check it out. Such a great lineup. But whenever I have someone on, I always love to sort of hear your, rock superhero origin stories. So I know you were born in 71 out in Orange County, California. Like, what did you listen to growing up? What were like the rock staples or any other genre really that sort of influenced you from the start?
Man, we grew up in kind of a musical family. Our grandfather was a musician, and he was kind of our early childhood influence. He played drums and organ and sang. And our AJ and I, our dad was a radio DJ at a top 40 radio station in LA. So we were just exposed by pop music and rock music and big band jazz and standards. And when in the 70s, not to date ourselves here, but when we were little kids, back in those days, top 40, the format top 40 truly was the top 40 most popular songs in the country at that time. So, we would listen to our dad on the radio and we would hear, Tom Petty, we would hear Boston, we would hear Donna Summer, we would hear Fleetwood Mac, we would hear Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, all these different things. And it wasn't compartmentalized in genres, that it was just like, I like that song, whatever on that song. We were just exposed to all of that. And then probably when we were about 9, I was 9, AJ was 7. That was when we went to our first concert, which was Iron Maiden and opening for UFO in Long Beach. And that was the day our life changed forever, because that was the first time we saw a rock band on a live stage, and just how loud it was, and our ears were ringing, and just seeing the guys on stage just rocking out. And literally we woke up the next day and both of us were on the same page. We were like, yep, that's what we want to do when we grow up. That's it. And it never changed.
Iron Maiden is the one that did it. I love it. So I know, you mentioned your brother, AJ, who, would do lead vocals in Lit eventually. But didn't you guys start in like Razzle or something? But take me back to those early days, and how did you sort of form Lit there and play the Troubadour, and, the rest is history?
Well, when we were kids, growing up in Orange County, there was a real stigma with Orange County music. You had to pretend you were from Hollywood if you wanted to get a gig and be taken seriously. They actually used to call it the Orange Curtain. And so bands, this is before websites and social media, we would have these like call-in hotlines, and we'd record these, hey, what's up, it's Razzle, and we're playing next Friday. And it was like these but a lot of bands would get fake area codes to make it look like they were an LA band. But places like the Troubadour, the Whiskey, Gazzarri's, all those Sunset Strip, Hollywood places, they were the only clubs that would allow all ages. So in high school, you would rent a couple of party buses and load up 100 of our friends. And that was kind of how we started that, so those clubs, we didn't realize how legendary those clubs were until years later, that so many people got their start at the Troubadour. What an iconic venue that was. But when we were 15, 16, 17, it was just a place we could play and have our friends come out,
That's just my hometown club. You didn't know there was like world famous right in your backyard. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, then take me into getting signed for that first album, Tripping the Light. Fantastic. Love that title. So catchy. That was in 97. It was released. Talk about just sort of putting that together. And like, it was more of like a punk. I was still punk, but it was like grunge, heavy metal ish, something, compared to maybe the more alternative or power punk rock, whatever you want to call the later stuff. Like, just take me into sort of the early days, finding the sound and the genre on that first album.
Well, we were, yeah, so unfortunately, like if you look us up on Wikipedia, anyone can go in there and add stuff to that. Well, we've never figured out how to fix it. So a lot of the historical facts are kind of not all that true. At least the early days, there's a lot of speculation out there, but we just sort of leave it alone because it's kind of funny. But
give me the real story from your mouth.
I mean, basically, we were a long-haired rock and roll teenage Sunset Strip band called Razzle when we were kids in high school. And then we were also learning how to do what we did. We were learning how to play our instruments. We were learning how to be a band. We were learning how to write songs. And we were growing we were getting, going into being adults too, so a lot of changes going on. I mean, if you can remember your years between 17 and 24, like how much growing and changing you did during that time.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were getting influenced by all this new great music, the 90s grunge, like Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Alice in Chains and
such good stuff. I love that era.
Yeah, man. And we were influenced by that. So even though we were kind of coming off the heels of this sort of late 80s, early 90s kind of hair metal thing, which we still love. But we were learning that our musical tastes were evolving and growing, whatever. So long story short, we kind of we were selling out places as Razzle. We were selling out all those Hollywood clubs, and we were a pretty popular local band. We ditched all of it. And we ditched our mailing list. We ditched our contacts at clubs. We went off the grid for like 6 months and just focused on a new batch of songs. And then we literally just started cold calling crappy bars, in anywhere from San Diego to Fresno. And we would just be like, we'll come play for, 2 drink tickets each, on a shitty Tuesday night, and one of those shitty Tuesday nights that we played in front of 10 people in San Diego, 2 of the 10 people happened to be these 2 A&R guys for Delicious Vinyl.
Nice.
And they approached us afterwards and they said, man, we love what we saw. We'd like to check into more of this. We got this label and blah, blah, blah. And it turned into that first independent deal with Delicious Vinyl, which was a hip hop label. They had Tone Loc and Young MC and The Far Side. And, but it was sort of our first taste of going to an office building in Hollywood and actually, signing a contract or whatever. But yeah, that record was definitely a kind of a crossroads. It was us it's very experimental. It's all over the place. There's elements of A Place in the Sun, but there's also elements of just angry, heavy, grungy kind of stuff. But it was really just us figuring it out, and then A Place in the Sun was kind of that aha moment where, we did some touring, we were writing constantly and doing all this stuff. And we were finding this sort of vibe that was resonating with crowds and with us. More importantly, we kind of stumbled into this thing that we were like, this is what we want to be. This is what we're about. And that's what A Place in the Sun was, we signed with RCA Records in late 98. That record was completely written and demoed and done. When we literally signed the paper, went right into the studio, came out of the studio, went right on the radio, went right on tour, and never came home.
Looking back. I mean, that album it blew up. A Place in the Sun, I guess 99 it came out. You recorded in 98. I think it went platinum. I mean, it was massive. It was massive. I was always curious because I'm a big movie buff. Had you seen the George Stevens, the 1951 movie A Place in the Sun, or where'd the title come from? It's a great movie.
I've never seen that movie. I got to look that up.
Look it up. It's great. Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, Shelley Winters. It's really good. It's the director that did Shane and Giant and all those movies. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got it off of the. Actually, I have a tattoo of it, but the Sands Hotel that Sinatra and the Rat Pack used to play at, and on the marquee of the Sands it said "A Place in the Sun."
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, no, his that director's son went on to found the American Film Institute and the Kennedy Center Honors and all that. So yeah, look him up. You guys could maybe have some bizarre crossover there with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, anyway, what my listeners will kill me if I go too much into the title. We got to go into My Own Worst Enemy. I mean, that song was huge. I think it topped the modern rock chart for like 11 weeks or something crazy. Two-parter for you. A, lyrically, it's just obviously it's about, regrets from the night before, drunken antics and all that stuff. But B, also, I want to know, you're the guitarist. I also want to know about, how you came up with that opening guitar riff that sort of just hits us in the face.
It's crazy, man. It's the riff is two notes, or it's a note and a half. It's like and it was just something I was jamming on one night. I was going through this phase where I was really fascinated with simplicity when it came to guitar parts and riffs and solos and stuff. I was really like fascinated with songs like Magic Man from Heart. You talk about movies, and we were big movie fans, and in a way, a lot of those old Tarantino movies and Scorsese movies were as influential on us in that period of our life as music was, and the soundtracks became the soundtrack. You'd put on Bronx Tale on a Saturday on repeat, and just because you're listening to the music that was playing in the background,
Oh yeah.
But that moment of like in Swingers where they pull up to that mobile home and Heart, Magic Man is playing, and just that feeling that you get. And I was like, God, that riff is just like gung 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 gung, and then then
even before that, it's like dun dun. Yeah, there's like a
guitar, it's coming, and then it just happens, and then you're in that with those two chicks, and it's awesome, but it's awkward and all this. And I was really kind of chasing down that simplicity, and so I was just writing these really basic riffs to see if I could do that. AJ had a couple of lyrics scribbled down on a scratch pad in his car, and that song really kind of came. It wrote itself in about 12 minutes, and I've told this story many times, but we have a tendency to we'll write a song. We won't usually finish it, unless we're really into it. But a lot of times we'll leave it sort of like, okay, well, let's move on to the next one. And then we'll go back when we record it and we'll fine tune it. We'll tweak the lyrics. We'll mess with it a little bit. And I really believe that those lyrics in that song were space holder words. They were very conversational. Nothing rhymed. Nothing really, it kind of broke all the rules of songwriting. And if I know us, I know we were planning on getting into the studio and fixing a lot of those words, but the song kind of took off out from under us. It took on a life of its own right out of the gate. And then next thing you know, it was on the radio. And the next thing you know, it was, like you said, it was #1 hit for the entire summer. So I guess we should probably stop messing with our lyrics and just go with what comes first. Cause that worked out pretty good.
Yes, well, I'm glad you didn't touch the lyrics because, for someone that I was coming of age, you were listening to Boston and all that, but I was coming of age with you guys listening to that. And there's, that my favorite line, I think, is, because every now and then I kick the living blank out of me.
Yeah.
Hello. But yes, hats off about the guitar riff. The dun, 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 dun. I mean,
yeah,
you can go to bars, cover bands still play that to this day, man. People freak out. All right, well, we don't have all day, but Miserable was on that album and Ziploc was on that album. I think Twisted Sister and Blink-182 in the video, like so many good memories for everybody. But moving ahead to that third album, Atomic, in 2001, I think it did pretty well, like 36 on the album Billboard albums. I think Lipstick and Bruises was on there. But I think I stumbled upon something. Was your tour for that supposed to start like literally on 9/11?
Yeah, the first night of the tour was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, at the Birch Hill nightclub, and so it was our first real. We had toured relentlessly up until then, but this was like the first big production tour. We had, big crew out with us. We had a semi truck. We had a bunch of cool stuff, and we were out there, man. It was starting in New York, and and then, of course, and my birthday is 9/11, and so we would gone out the
Wow.
night before to celebrate my birthday in Manhattan, and normally the band would stay in the city and the crew would stay across in Jersey because it was easier to park the bus and truck and all that. And for some reason that night, like 3 or 4 in the morning, we went back to Jersey to be with the buses and the crew, and for the first day of the tour. And then 9/11 happened. So it's actually a trip. Just recently, a couple people have shared on social media, like there's a few people out there that still have the ticket stub
Wow.
from that show that never got used, and well, I've been dying to find a poster for it. But yeah, that was a crazy time, and that record, you know, Lit fans, it's kind of like Weezer's Pinkerton album. It's like the one of those fan favorite albums that is a great record. It just kind of got anything that could happen, and obviously 9/11 happened to all of us, and it was
Yeah.
such a crazy moment in history for us. But aside from all that, just what happened after that was really any curveball that could get thrown at a rock and roll band um, was thrown at us. The record company got a new president, and our A&R guy went to another label, and then this guy went over here, and this happened, and then you got the travel, all these different things. It was like the record should have gotten a lot more attention than it did, but the world just had a lot of stuff on its plate at that point. So, but it is what it is. It's if people haven't heard it, it's if you like A Place in the Sun, it's a great follow-up album to that. I think the record that we just put out last summer, Tastes Like Gold, I think that's also that album could have easily come out between A Place in the Sun and Atomic. It has the same themes and the same vibes and stuff. And but yeah, man.
There you go. Yeah. Well, everyone check out the new one. And of course, go back. And if you missed Atomic and all the crazy hecticness of 9/11 and the aftermath, go back and check that out. Like all the hardcore fans, like you said, it's one of the fan favorite, like I guess, cult favorites of actual hardcore fans. And you mentioned curveballs. You got like your biggest one and saddest one, after the fourth album, Lit 2004, the self-titled one, because you lost your drummer, Alan Schellenberger. What was it? Brain cancer, I think, in 2009.
Yeah.
So, does that album sort of hold a special bittersweet place in your heart as the last time, the original lineup was together?
It does for that reason and a lot of other reasons too. That particular period of time in our lives was very, AJ and I had small kids. They were like 2 and 3 at the time. I was going through a divorce. Our parents were in it was all these big, huge, real life things that were happening during that record and just right after it. And then of course, Alan getting sick was completely out of the blue, completely out of left field. He was like the most healthy, he was athletic, he never drank before a show. He never smoked a cigarette in his life. He was just a solid dude that if you would put us in a lineup and say, guess which one of you guys is going to get this, wouldn't have ever been him, but yeah. And not only does it kind of remind me of that time, which is bittersweet because we got through that time and we came out stronger, but I really think that's such a great record. We produced it ourselves. We didn't know that we were producing it ourselves. We were making these demos that became the record. And it was kind of, we were like, man, we can actually we can do this ourselves. Like we don't need to go to an expensive recording studio for a month in North Hollywood. We found this great little spot in Orange County and this great engineer, and we just were going to work every day. And one day we just sort of sat back and we were like, shit, I think we have an album. I think our album's done, which is kind of cool. But
yeah. Well, I'm glad, and all your fans, I'm sure, we're glad that the band was able to pick yourselves up and regroup after all those tragedies and curveballs that you mentioned. And we're able to then give us the view from the bottom in 2012. These are the days in 2017. And then the one you mentioned, most recent one, Tastes Like Gold in 2022. I assume we'll hear hits and deep cuts and stuff, songs from all of them at the festival if people come out to Annapolis, the Let's Go Music Fest on June 2nd through 4th. Anything you want to say before we hop off? Just to, tell our listeners to come on out.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to seeing y'all out there. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of great bands, and we're going to bring it. And and in between now and then, go do some listening. Check us out on the Instas and the whatever you use on your phone there. We're at Lit Band Official at everything. And check out some of the new tunes, and we'll be playing a little bit of everything. So we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you joining us on WTOP. Jeremy Popoff, guitarist of the band Lit, again, at the Let's Go Music Fest in Annapolis, Maryland on June 2nd and through the 4th. Actually, you guys will be the day too, June 3rd. So, but check everyone out. It's going to be a fun weekend. Hey, thanks so much.
Right on, brother. Appreciate you, man. See you soon.
Love it. See ya. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.